It's 9 o'clock.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationships, Sunday nights at 9. I am Coach Glenda here with Mr. Rufus Carpenter, my course manager. We're here with another great topic for tonight. But before we start off, I would like to say we are officially, as of this week, if I'm not mistaken, we are on YouTube. So I ask that each and every one of you that are participating tonight, I ask that you go to our YouTube channel and put in Reset to Healthier Relationships, and we should pop up. You will see tonight's background as the banner, so you'll know you're at the right place, and you'll see me and Mr. Carpenter also. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Carpenter. You've done a great job. You was a man of your word, and you really, really pulled everything off and in a timely manner. I really do appreciate all of your hard work, to be honest. I mean, I would not be here today if it was not for you, and I wanted to tell you that out loud in front of everyone. But everyone, as you already know, I've introduced myself several times before. I am Coach Glenda, and I originally came from Virginia in a very, very toxic marriage for around about 8 years. And it took me over 10 years to really get my life together and get everything back on track. And after everything was said and done, I realized that I couldn't continue to look backwards. I needed to look forward. And when I made the move to Georgia, it really was an eye opener for me. The things of the past that happened in Virginia, I kind of sort of, I put them off to the side because I believed and I hoped that there was a better life for me in Georgia. But as I was saying, it was a very toxic relationship. I was mentally, physically, and sexually abused on a regular basis. And I will honestly say it wasn't a knockout, drag out fight on a regular, like on a daily basis, but it was very stressful and strenuous for me at that time. But before I go any further, I would like to give Mr. Carpenter the opportunity to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Pentecost Sunday. Hey, my name again is Rufus Carpenter. I'm a coach and the course manager for Reset a Healthy Relationship. But I come to this relationship background just a little different than most people. My background started as a family of 14. I was one of the children, and we had 3-bedroom house, but only one bathroom. It was 14 kids plus the 2 parents, so it was 16 people in that house sharing one bathroom. And then if you had the opportunity, like I had, to sleep with 4 of your siblings, and one is occasional bedwetter, you understand what it is for the human connection. So also, I was married 27 years to the same lady. When you're married to somebody that long, you learn a thing about commitment, you learn about compromise, you learn about trust. And these are the things that's not so much needed for a successful marriage, but these are the things that make you have a deeper connection with the spouse or whoever that person is. These are the things that you need for a deeper connection. Also, I was trained in the United States Army as an equal opportunity race and relationship leader who had the responsibility for intake of any race or relationship problems in our unit. I had to do the first intake form and decide what level of authority would address those needs. So my background is very diverse, and also I'm representing the male perspective tonight, so I feel more than qualified to have a little conversation on this Sunday night at 9. Back to you, Glenda.
Okay, thank you so much. I did want to mention to everyone, I did put tonight's handout in the chat, but they are stating that they're not able to see the attachment. Also, I put my mission statement in the chat as well. I'm not sure if you guys can see that either. And I always encourage for everyone to join our public Facebook page as well. I put that address in the chat as well. So without further ado, our topic for tonight is the power of mindset in dating, marriage, and divorce. And before I say anything further, I wanted to define mindset. It says the established set of attitudes held by someone. And they gave examples of mind, frame of mind, turn of mind, mentality, persona, and psychic. So I've always heard that the mind is a terrible thing to waste, and that's absolutely true. And when you think about your mindset in dating, I know for me, when I think about it, I have to change the way I currently think, especially from the past. I have to change my mindset from how I was thinking previously from my past to something more hopeful and something more positive going into the future. Because if you keep holding on to the past, you will not be able to have a successful and productive relationship or marriage. So I would like to ask everyone, what are some beliefs you hold about dating that might be holding you back? Now, I know for myself, when I think about that question, I at one point, I won't say I think that today, but at one point, I thought all men were cheaters because I had to deal with it with probably 90% of the guys I always, the 90% of the guys that I dated, they all cheated, some shape, form, or fashion. And it was like, oh my gosh, is this a routine? Is this a habit? What is going on? Because I could not believe that everybody that that I had dated, from even being married to the guys that came thereafter, they all cheated. I couldn't believe that. But when I got into my current relationship, and over the course of time, I mean, we've been together for so many years that, I at one point I did think, oh my God, I know he's going to cheat on me, just waiting for it. But the 5 years went by, the 10 years went by, and it was like, oh my God, this guy isn't cheating. What is wrong with him? And it was just that eventually I had to change my mindset about men cheating, because not all men cheat. I believe most do. But for me, I really found someone in my life right now, he doesn't have the desire to cheat. So he helped me change my mindset from thinking that all men cheats to, oh, I don't know what you've been through before, but I'm not the one. I don't have to cheat. And that made me feel good about myself, because I didn't think I was I didn't think it was the guys that I dated that used to cheat. I didn't think it was necessary, because I come out with a disclaimer when I meet someone or when I start a new relationship. I tell them, if you have the desire to cheat, go ahead and let me go. It won't be no back and forth. It won't be no communication. But if you have the desire to cheat, just let me know that you're interested in someone else. You don't have to cheat, because I'm a big girl. I can take this. But to find out after I told you that, I'm like, well, what was the need? What was the purpose? I had already told you this. And they was like, more or less, they was trying to have their cake and too. They liked the benefits of having me, but they wanted something more. But I am, I what do you call it? A one woman's man or something like that. Oh, how does the saying go, Mr. Carpenter? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, one person. Yeah, just
Yeah.
one person. Yes, but let's hear from the audience before I get in. Any comments on what she just said?
Do I need to repeat the question, or are y'all comfortable to go ahead and give me some feedback?
Well, I thought I had gotten past it and moved on, and had made up my mind I wasn't going to compare. I wasn't going to think everybody was the same. But as soon as I wondered if everything was okay, that's when looked like the past came right back. So I really hadn't gotten behind it. I had not, put it behind me. Then I started not actually comparing, but making sure, like I put that guard up again, but an even higher one, to make sure that they didn't get through or get to hurt me again. So.
Okay, that's understandable.
Any more comments on that before I weigh in? Well, from a man, what's this? Who said? Oh,
I just put the question in the chat just in case.
What Glenda said, and she spoke her truth, which saying that she thought that all men cheated until she found her current relationship, and which seems to be more what she was searching for. And that's great. That's great. When you say all men cheat, or when you say everything is just like the last time, and like Mildred, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. And when you say that, what are you saying? The common denominator in all that sometimes is you. And I'm not throwing any stones or shade or whatever you call that. But what I'm saying is, when you date, when you go into dating, you got to realize some things. What are your expectations? That's the first thing. What are your expectations? How do you value yourself? What's self-worth? When you talk about self-worth and confidence, sometimes your confidence and your self-worth will thin off a lot of people that come to you. Because some people, and I'm going to say this plainly as I can, and it's Pentecost Sunday, so I really don't want to say it, but I got to say it anyway. If your confidence level is high, you can see bullshit a mile away. So it's your selection process. Your selection process sometimes come into play. Is what, and when you select something, you have to realize something. It's like putting on a pair of shoes. Does it fit? You know, are they a little tight? Are they comfortable? Are they a little loose? That's what you have to look at. And then when you have self-confidence, a lot of times it really shows, and the other person will size themselves up before they approach you. Because if they know they ain't about nothing, and they look at you and they see you as a pillar of the society, and see you as a high value woman or high value man, and they know they full of crap. You know, a lot of times they'll go somewhere else because they go to the least resistance. They go to the road of least resistance. So sometimes that come into play. Anybody kind of understand what I'm saying? Am I just talking, or
I hear you loud and clear, but I will disagree with you.
Well, and I understand.
I don't agree with you 100%, and that is great. And like you said, you spoke your truth. But I think that even though men, you know, they do recognize that you are a high value woman or man, some people will still try you just to see. They want to check your vulnerability level, see if she, you know, is she desperate, see if he desperate, you know, and just try you to see how far they can get. You know, what they say, nothing beats a try.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're the picker, as they say. You got to pick. You have to select them.
And you do know as well, there's sheep's and wolves clothing.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And that's where growth mindset is. Growth mindset is because if you went to one date and you pick one bad apple, next date pick another bad apple, next date pick another bad apple, then eventually you're gonna say, what's in common with these bad apples? You know, am I picking from the wrong group of folk? Am I fishing in the wrong pond? Or do I need to back up a little bit and give it a little more time before I make a decision on who I'm dating? Do I need to change my method of dating? Because there's methods of dating. Is this an online type thing? Or is this a meet you at the club kind of thing? Or is this I'm gonna meet you in the gym when I go work out? Or am I gonna see you when I'm going to pick up my stuff from Home Depot? You know, there's so many different ways of looking at dating. It's not just one method or one source. You could be family activities. There's so many ways of meeting the person. There's so many ways of meeting the person. So you've got to make sure that you're fishing from the right pond. Because if all your dates are coming from online and none of them are panning out, let's face it, you're in the wrong fishing pond.
But I went fishing in many different ponds, and I still came out with guppies.
And you know, you know how those country boys say your picker is a little off.
Well, I guess it is off there, but I think right now I done caught a good one right now.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, because when you're dating, your goal is finding someone that's a good match for you, and whether it's a long-term relationship you're looking for, or whether it's a mid-term relationship where you just look for somebody to go to the movies or whatever you do, or whatever your relationship is, whatever you're looking for, you have to realize that from the beginning. You got to first part. It's based in three parts. Dating is three parts. The first is your self-worth and confidence. That's knowing what you're all about, just knowing what you're looking for, walking with confidence, knowing your value, knowing your worth, and not settling for anything less than that. And then if you do that, you'll kind of attract people that's identical to you, that have the same goals. And a lot of times when you find people doing things that you're interested in. If you like to bowl or you like to play, what's that new stuff everybody playing with, the pickleball or whatever that is, whatever sport you're doing, find people in your interests that's doing the same things you're doing. Because if you you're doing high value or high frequency type things, if you find somebody in that arena, more likely it's a better match.
Where did that information come from? Where did that information come from?
It's a source. It came from a lot of stuff I'm talking, it's coming from the CDC. And there's a Dr. Helen that has this stuff. And there's one more I think I've got, that this is where some of this information comes from. And a lot of stuff you can Google. You can just Google, and a lot of stuff is simple to find. Okay. But a lot of stuff I'm learning from studies in the CDC.
I can tell, Professor. Okay. Most of my education comes from real life experiences, but I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's good. I'm glad, and that's why, and everybody, that's why our framework works so well. Because this is 20 of your girlfriends sitting in your living room and you're having an open discussion. This is a safe place. You can actually speak your truth here. No one's going to look at you funny. No one's going to say, girl, what the hell are you talking about? That's not going to happen here. This is a chance for you to relax, ask some of the questions, some of the things that's been on your mind, and some of the things that me say, you can ask them today. And that's the format here. And Glenda, she has a wealth of experience. So her knowledge is invaluable. Where I like to read and study. A lot of my knowledge comes from reading and studying. So you have on the street, you have out there in the trenches, and you have in the books. So you got a nerd, and you got somebody in the street. So we got a great combination here today.
Okay. Amen. Amen.
So feel free to ask your questions and we'll get them answered. Let's open this thing up for dating a little bit more. Now, who on this line has dated within the last 6 months and have a horror story they want to share?
Oh my God.
Okay, Annette, I guess it's you, honey.
No. I don't have a horror story to share. No. I gotta put myself off. Y'all hear me too much. No.
Do anybody have any great memories of sharing that they want to share about dating? No daters here. Everybody's exclusive. Everybody tied up a little bit. Nobody wants to talk. I haven't dated in a while, but my dating, let me see. I can see if I can get something that pass. I had 2 dates. I had a good date and a bad date.
Can I hear about the bad date first?
Why you want to hear about the bad date? I'm trying to get that out of my mind.
So I like to hear bad news first and then, end with good news.
My bad date was bad. I thought it was bad, but it was probably an average date. I had met a person and we decided that we were going to go out. And in going out, I said, okay, you pick the place. And the lady said, well, hey, look, no, you pick. That's no problem. I'll pick. So I called my son. I said, hey, son, where's a great place? Because my son, he goes out a lot more than I do. I'm kind of settled now. So my son said, hey, Pop, here's where you go. I said, okay, no problem. And I'll never do that again. My son. So I said, okay, I told her I'd pick her up. We go there. This expense, my son, this was the first date, and my son, I went to this big, expensive place. I said, goodness gracious. When I opened the menu up, I said, what?
That is one date you do your research before you started.
but that wasn't the killer part. The killer part started in the parking lot. When it got to the parking lot, it cost $12 to park. It's valet parking.
You complained about $12?
No. I didn't complain. I didn't complain about $12 parking in valet because I said, okay, no problem. Valet parking, $12. So that should have been the sign right there. but that should have been the sign. But I didn't think. I said, okay, no problem. Hey, I'm like Charlie would say, hey, okay, handle that for me. Threw him the keys and went in. And we sit there, oh man, talking about ordering. We ordered, and the lady ordered something to take home. I said, and and the conversation was fair. It was fair. And I haven't tell you no more, but it was fair. But $178 later.
I don't think that was a bad thing, a bad day. I think that was an expensive day. I mean, other than the money part, I haven't heard anything bad.
I don't want to tell you the other part. The other part's gonna be private. The other parts I can't tell you that, but all I can tell. That's all I can tell. That's all I can tell.
Okay, we're gonna let that one go. You
right, moving right along. Go ahead, Mildred. What you want to say?
No, you're supposed to tell the good one now. That was your bad one.
Oh, the good one. The good one. I picked the lady up. Took the lady out on a date. Oh man, this lady was. I picked up, knockout, gorgeous, dressed. Matter of fact, I felt like I was underdressed because I had on a button-up shirt and a pair of slacks. Man, she was. Oh man, she looked like a doll baby. I looked like somebody walked out of the magazine. Beautiful conversation. 5 hours later, we stayed at the restaurant. The people changed shifts. The people said, well, hey, the lady said, hey, I'm going to leave, but this lady will take care of you. Okay. And I said, okay, wow. Okay, great. 5 hours later, when we left, I had to stand, when I dropped off, I had to stand outside and shake my head, talking about, darn. You got me sweating right now just thinking about it. Jesus.
Oh Lord.
Well, Rufus, what made it so interesting? Was it her beauty? What made that such an interesting date? Her beauty?
Conversation, beauty. It was a 10-10-10.
The whole 9 yards.
Was her beauty.
Huh? No.
You just put so much emphasis on her beauty.
No, that's the conversation because the beauty wouldn't last. The beauty wouldn't last but 15 minutes. But the conversation would kept it 5 hours. I'm telling you, talking about it was beautiful. It was just beautiful.
Okay. And how did this pan out? How did it end?
Secrets. All right, next. Let's move right along. Any questions about dating? Because dating is broken down in 3 parts: self-confidence, and then it's growth mindset. Growth mindset. If you went through one date and another date and if something's not changing or not working or connecting for you, you need to be growing. You need to understand. You need to take a moment, step back, and find out what's happening wrong on your part or what's happening wrong on the other person's part. And then the last part of this is expectation management. What are you expecting out of dates? What are you looking for? Are you looking for someone long-term? You're looking for someone short-term? Because the criteria would be a lot different based on your desires there. Any questions? All right, Glenda, turn it back over to you, ma'am.
Okay, are we moving off of dating and moving into something else?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right. How about this? How do you and your partner support each other's personal growth? That's the next question.
That's in dating or in marriage? We're still in dating?
This is in marriage now. We are talking about marriage now.
Okay, we shifted marriage. All right, we're talking about marriage.
Yes. So any other ladies?
Can I ask a question before you ask a question, Glenda?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first, what are some of the things when you're going from dating to marriage, audience? What are some of the things you consider? What would make a date somebody you dated for a while to determine you decide you want to marry? What are some of the things that would make that transition or make you want to do that? Somebody want to answer that? Because that's a question I always wanted to know. What would be the sign or signal, or what would make you want to go from a dating relationship to go into a marriage? Can somebody help me? Because I need to know the lady side of that.
I was getting ready to say that's a good question, because I'd like to know that myself. Hey, it's not like I don't know what I want, but when you're dealing with somebody else, you don't want to seem like you're pushing things or rushing things, and you want them to take the lead in talking like that. How long do you wait? How do you like? You can't read their mind, but they're not transparent either.
Right. And I know for myself, I'm not currently married, but I used to be, but that was so long ago. But I know as far as myself, for me to get married, I would need to know or feel as if, okay, I need something that is permanent. I'm looking for something that is more permanent. When you're just dating, you go to your house and I go to my house and everything is separate. But when I feel as if it's time for us, or I have a desire for us to start to combine things, and I need a little bit more, I need more consistency, I need more frequency. That is my sign or my desire to know that I am married. When I know that, okay, me sleeping at night every night it's not gonna work. When I need constant attention, I'm not talking about smothering, but I want to be with my mate every day. I want to be the first thing he sees first thing in the morning, and I want to be the last thing he sees before he go to bed at night. It's that constant interaction with them. But like I said, I want to put stress on that. I'm not doing that smothering stuff. I mean, I don't participate in that smothering, because we all need our own space, but I want that permanent, that covenant with another person that is so unique, and a bond that is so unbreakable, that I want it on a permanent or on a committed level. That's me. That is me. That is my truth, Mr. Carpenter.
I want to quantify that. How do you quantify that? How do you know? Ladies, how do you know? What is it? It's
a feeling.
Okay, feeling.
It's for me, it's a feeling. And it's like you already, especially if you already have that desire to be married, like if I had a heavy desire to be married, I would be, maybe I would have been more selective in my partners. But I know that once upon a time when I did decide to get married, I did have that desire. I wanted that commitment. I wanted that constant interaction, that something that was unbreakable, because we had gone as far as we could in our relationship as girlfriend and boyfriend, and then we started to have children together. We had one child together, and it was like we felt like at one point in time, this is the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. This is the person I wanted to see first thing in the morning. It's more so of a feeling for me.
And Glenda, that's why I asked that question for the ladies on our panel, because that's what you said. You just said some major things. You said y'all the relationship had pretty much ran its course as dating. You said you had a child. So this means that you've got a lot tied into this relationship now. Because think about it, ladies. When you get married, normally a guy has to propose to you. So you might want to get married, but the guy has to propose to you. And the guy has to propose to you, and you want to get married, but he has to do the proposing. How does that happen?
Right.
I would think that he's feeling the same way.
I think this is Annette. I think comfort. I think you have to get comfortable with each other, and I think all things have to feel good. You're not pulling or tugging against each other about any one particular thing. You're comfortable with everything that you do. All your things together is comfort. That's when I think you make the decision to say, okay, we need to go further. We need to think about marriage.
I gotta tell you, ladies, I'm a guy. I'm gonna tell you how, when you say comfort, here's how a guy think when you say comfort. I'm getting the milk.
That's what gets him in trouble every time.
True.
I'm just saying, when you talk
that's
comfort,
true.
as a man, I'm getting comfortable. Why change it? Ain't broke. Why fix it?
Because then I'm gonna change it if you don't want to do it. Now
Amen.
it's time to change it.
Amen.
I mean, you can also ask the question throughout your relationship. Do you have the desire to get married? Do you have the
Yeah.
desire to ever be married? Do you
Yeah.
see that as one of your 5 to 10 year, life goals? And if
Right.
honestly, if they come out the gate talking about, oh, I'm not trying to get married, that's a part of the selection process. You know that if you desire to get married and they don't, oh, this not even gonna work long.
Okay.
This is not even gonna work because we don't even want the same things out the gate.
That's right.
But Rufus, you got to understand, you're asking us a question about, how does a man get to that point? So you ask, you should be
a
answering.
woman. I'm not talking about man. I know how the man get there, but I was asking for the woman because.
But we gave you 2 good examples.
Okay, all right. Because here's what I noticed, and here's what some reports I read, that a woman wins her man's love. She wins her man's love to the point he wants to marry her. I'm speaking Greek.
I gotta have a talk with you after this.
Am I speaking Greek? I mean, am I talking Greek now?
I'm listening. I'm just waiting for a good stopping point.
Because a woman, here's the stuff I read. The stuff I read says a woman wins her man. She wants to win her man confidence. That's why she picks the type of man she picks to be dating with is the man that she wants to win. She wants to win that man's love to the point where he proposed. Am I wrong, or ladies? Help me out. Am I
Mr. Carpenter? Mr. Carpenter, you are right. And that's where a lot of women mess up. I call that the audition period. And when we don't get what we want, we are heartbroken. We're like, oh, I did all this for him, and he didn't even want to put a ring on it. But see, you done got all the milk.
I differ. Sometimes some of that, what you said, is a trap. Sometimes that's some what you said is a trap. Sometimes men feel that's a trap. Sometimes men feel that women will love you a certain way because they're trying to get you to love them back the same way. So it's a trap. It's a pull. It's a trap versus a winning you over.
But a man enjoys the game because he getting all the milk.
Hey, let's somebody jump in. Angela, you're normally good with this kind of stuff. Angela, help us out.
No, just listen. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just listening.
Now Angela doesn't have a problem with chiming in. Trust me.
Because
excuse me, but wouldn't that go back to communication too?
Yeah, that's the key.
Yes, that's
communication
is the key.
All the time, even with dating, you come into the relationship. Communication is key. Communication and trust. You got to know what it is that you want, and then you honesty. You lay it on the table, and then you communicate. And if your communication is veering to the right and his is to the left, then you put on the brakes, because that's a trigger right there. This ain't going nowhere.
And you're right. You're right there. You have to communicate. And if the communication is open and honest, and you're looking at communication, not red flags, because sometimes people communicate red flags too. Communication is not also verbal, or it can be signs, and it can be verbalized too. What's the Angela?
And you have to also see if y'all on the same page.
Correct.
Because everybody ain't going where you're going.
That's correct.
Exactly.
Want what you want. You want this, and they want that. So sometimes the other person really ain't ready. They may want you, but they ain't ready.
Right.
So you waste time with that. You give them time.
Right.
To go up or whatever. And maybe you'll meet them up the road later.
Right.
If it's
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's right.
And that's why it's very important we get this part right, because this part determines whether you stay married or not married.
Right.
Because the average time, according to statistics, the average marriage now in America lasts only 8 years. That's the average time for marriages in America right now, 8 years. And 50% of people marry divorce. So So that's why I want to make sure that we're looking at it on the front end. That transition from dating to marriage or engagement, that's the key. The work that you put in right there makes a difference. And that's why it's very important. That's why I ask ladies, how do you know? What is the sign that says it's ready? We're ready. You know, this cake is baked. Let's eat it. How do we know that? Because
I will say that during the dating period, if you are trying to go from dating to marriage, for the women, I will say, don't give too much up front. Don't give too much in the beginning, because if the communication is not correct, or if, you know, you sense that y'all not wanting the same thing, like if you're looking to get married and he's not, and he is transparent with that in the beginning, you know, like they said, it's a red flag. And I mean, I have learned from many mistakes. You don't give a man too much. You don't give a boyfriend husband benefits, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up shortchanged, and you're going to burn yourself out, because everything that you probably would have given to your husband, you done gave it to this man. And he's like, shoot, I'm going to enjoy all this. She does this on a regular. He may never put a ring on your finger.
yeah, let me share some stats.
Oh,
Stats. One of the stats says that long-term relationships, that 43% of men are looking for long-term relationships.
why?
I
So
guess,
they can have someone to take care of them?
well, someone to take care of their half of the relationship. Yes, I'll say it that way. And then only 25% of women are looking for a long-term relationship.
What did they
So
give any age range with that 25%?
This was just average. And I surveyed that. Well, I surveyed it for people in the 30 to 55 range. That's the age group I surveyed for. And they said 43% of men looking for long term, only 25% of women looking for long term. And also the stat says that romantic relationships only last about 4 years. The same study. Yep.
Is that when you say romantic, are you referring to marriage or dating?
All the above. When you meet somebody, hey, I love you, girl, or I love you, guy, that's a 4-year hitch. Whether it's dating, that window, and right. That's what it says there. So let's make sure we're still in marriage now. Let's make sure we're still in marriage, and we're still kind of talking about that a little bit. All right. Now, we did. I think we kind of like left it in the air. What make you determine you are married? Now let's what it takes to be married and stay married. Now, what are some of the traits or some of the things that we talk about to be married, to stay married, and be married? What are some of the things that's important to you? And what's the mindset of being married?
You have to communicate.
Communicate, and we call it a partnership mentality. You gotta realize that it's a partnership. Marriage is a partnership. And some people are saying marriage is a financial arrangement. But still, no matter how you look at it, it's a partnership. Okay. It's two people coming together and you're working for the good of the group. We're working for the good of the union. I think marriage is great. I think marriage is a great institution. I think marriage is an excellent institution. Because when you're married, you have someone that you can depend on, someone that has your back, someone that's thinking the same thing you're thinking, somebody that's very comfortable, and the compatibility is there. Your strengths and their strengths can play off the weakness and strengths. It's a great thing. Two people can go further than one person can. I think when you put it together, I think somewhere I read in the Bible somewhere that said two people.
Two is better than one.
Yeah, but it says something about one person can put 10 to flight, and I think two people can put 10,000 to flight.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Right.
And it says that you multiply that. And when I was married to 27 years, if you ask me talk about the good or the bad, which outweighed what, the good definitely outweighed the bad. The good definitely outweighed the bad. So the first thing you talk about is partnership mentality. Anybody want to share what they consider partnership mentality, what it sounds like to them, or what it would look like to them? Anybody?
Not being totally unselfish.
Correct.
Yeah, that's key.
Yep.
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry, Mildred.
She said completely. Right. Go ahead, Mildred.
I said being completely unselfish, putting
Okay.
the other person first,
Okay.
thinking
Right.
about them.
Think about the other person, preferring them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in our handouts, they call it a two-person sport. It's a two-person sport. You got a team of two. And then when you got kids, you got more players. But when you first start out, it's two, a team of two. And today's time now, marriage now looks different than what it used to be. Yeah, in the 2024, they've got marriages and partnerships, and I won't dwell on that because you love who you love. If two people love each other, there's no reason why they can't be together. That's on them, okay? So marriage is that. Marriage is a two-people sport, all right? And you got to play together to win. And if you play as a team, you'll always win. When you start playing separately and not as a team, that's when you have the problems. All right, let's talk about adaptability, staying open to change and growth within the marriage. And that's something that really you got to, some people say, stay where you're planted. That's what some people call it, stay where you're planted at. And they're saying, stay where you're planted. If me and you plant our feet together in this fertile ground, and this is ours, and we call this home, this is who we are, that's it. That's how we're gonna make that work together as a union. What do you want to add to that, Glenda?
Well, in regards to adaptability, in a marriage, I will say that, let's see, I will say that staying open to change is extremely important. Whether it's a change of jobs, a change of profession, change of work schedule, even when it comes to the children, making sure that you guys can, y'all can adjust the change as well as in the process, grow during the process. That's my whole take on adaptability, being able to change when need be and grow in the process without going against one another is what I should say.
Or not run.
Go ahead. Somebody want to say something? Go ahead. Who's that?
Or Mildred. Or not running away the first sign of a problem. Somebody could get laid off, they could get sick, or the car could break down. So get used to you sharing one car instead of having two. Or if somebody gets sick, just because they're sick, you don't try to get rid of them. You just try to hang in there and help while you're waiting for them to get well again. Because it could have been reversed. It could have been you instead of that person.
Absolutely.
So adapting to no matter what it is, you try to work through it. You don't just run the first time something gets uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's a key. And I'm glad you brought it up, Mildred, because adaptability, we just went through a terrible time in the world. And COVID hit single, married, and alike. And a lot of married couples had the adaptability. A lot of them stayed home. A lot of times where the husband or the wife would stay outside of home working, now everybody's home. Everybody was home. So, a lot of people say, man, I love you when you go to work, bro. When you're home, you hog the TV, you want to be in charge, you want to be in control, go back to work. But COVID, where you couldn't go back to work, and a lot of people had to change the way they did things, so you had to adapt to COVID. So that was one of the biggest things we had to handle in marriages as well as everybody else. And a lot of us gained a little weight, and we weren't the sexy bulk people we were before COVID, and all these things took place. So adaptability is very, very important. Yes. And Mildred hit on something that's key in a marriage, and we call that conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. How do you handle conflicts in marriage? How do you handle them? And it's key because if you haven't discussed a lot of this stuff in your dating phase, or what Glenda like to call runway, if you haven't covered that in your runway, when you get into problems in your marriage, you don't know how to solve them.
Right.
And sometimes communication is not enough. You got to have some more framework besides communication when the problems come. How do you handle those problems? And like Mildred said, you don't throw them out or get rid of them or change or go find somebody else. You stay there and work through it.
Right.
You work through it, because sometimes it's really hard. It's hard sometimes to make it work. It's hard to make it work. And then, this is when, if you can't make it work on your own, husband and wife behind the 4 doors, shut the doors, you can't make it work there, you might need to find counseling. Counseling,
Yes.
counseling, whether it's you're going to see your pastor or going professional counseling, or seeing a therapist, or seeing somebody like me and Glenda to sit down with a third party to help you work through it. Sometimes you can go to your family or your friends. And sometimes you might need help. You might need mentorship in your marriage, because conflict resolution is very, very important. It's not when you're going to have problems in your marriage. It's when you are going to have problems in your marriage, because every relationship erodes. I don't care how good a marriage or how good a friendship or how good a relationship you guys got, there are going to be bumps in the road that you have to deal with.
Yes.
And if you already got a plan in place how to deal with these things, it's great. If you don't, you learn on what's called on the fly. And sometimes the heat of the moment, you might say some things that you might not be able to take back.
Right.
Right. And that's why you should always consider, how do I want to be treated?
Mm-hmm.
Flip it around. What kind of response do I want for myself? And then you extend that same grace to your partner or your spouse. And when it comes to counseling, every counselor need to have a counselor.
Yes.
So that's one question. If you seek the service of a counselor, one of the number one questions that you need to ask them: who is your counselor? Where do you go for counseling?
Awesome. That's some great things. That's Angela. Let's bring that out, because you said one key word that we don't normally use in the Black community. That word grace. That word grace. Because we always want you to be perfect. We always want our partner to be perfect. We always want someone that, what's going on here? Why did you do that? We don't extend grace enough in marriages and relationships. Grace, because sometimes you cut short, and sometimes your partner or your spouse or significant other, they need your help. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't know how to ask you for help. Sometimes they're afraid to ask you for help.
Sometimes it's pride, and and what pride goes before the fall, a haughty spirit before the fall, pride before the destruction. Yes. So sometimes that's a killer. Put that aside. Yeah, you the man, and you wear the pants, but sometimes you need to humble yourself. This is for male and woman. How do you want to be treated?
Right.
And then you turn around and hold off, and then extend that grace to the other person. In other words, not moving too quickly, not being too coming out of the gate.
Yes. And in the Black community,
harshly. Mm-hmm.
In the Black community, a lot of marriages, believe that the man is the head, regardless whether he's the sharpest tool in the toolbox or whether he's the brightest. He's the head, and sometimes that messes us up. Sometimes, because some men don't want to compromise. Some men use that control and say, "Hey, look, I'm the man. I wear the pants," and they may not be the best leader in all situations in that partnership. And there you have to know when to lead and when to follow.
Correct.
Because Colin Powell said something that was very, very, very important. Somebody asked him about his leadership, and he said he's a great leader because he knows how to follow. And that stuck with me. I heard it a long time ago, and that stuck with me. Sometimes the leader has to follow, or at least be quiet and let somebody else lead for a minute.
Right. You don't know everything.
Right. You don't have all the answers.
Right.
That's it. Because when I read in the Bible what it said, the woman in a relationship, what her duties were in a relationship, I was amazed. It had the woman going making stuff at home, going to the market, selling it, coming back, taking care of the husband, taking care of I said, goodness gracious. That lady in the Bible, man, that lady had it all. That lady, she had it going on. So my thoughts were, if the lady in the Bible can do all of that, then she's a leader. She's a leader. She's running things.
Right. Well, see, God Himself calls the woman the helpmeet.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to do it in quiet, make him think that he's, he's large and in charge.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then they need to
yes.
humble themselves and see, you know what? That's my backbone right there.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
you're working together.
Yes, it is.
Marriage is a partnership.
And that's why
Institution that was established.
Yeah, we're at the 50-minute mark, so we have to roll this up. You guys got me talking, sweating. I'm missing our marks here.
Those were your stories.
Y'all pushing tonight. So let's go. Let's any questions about marriage before we go into divorce? Any questions about mindset of divorce? All right.
No,
now,
marriage.
Any questions about marriage before we go? Any questions about marriage before we ease into divorce? All the marriage questions are done?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about divorce. You want to lead or you want me to lead, Glenda?
You can go ahead.
Okay, divorce. Let's talk about divorce. Divorce, there's a law first mentioned. The first mention of divorce was in the Bible when Moses gave a paper to the men so they wouldn't just put away their wife any kind of way. So
For
Moses
burning the bacon.
What? Say that again, Angela?
You wouldn't put her away for burning the bacon.
Correct. So Moses extended a letter of divorce. Now, nowhere the God or in the Bible says that, but other than that. And so Moses was the first one to introduce the letter of divorce. All right. So now divorce, some people see divorce as a good thing. Some people see divorce as a bad thing. Any comments on divorce before I weigh in or before Glenda weigh in? Any comments on divorce?
I think you should try working it out before you leave, unless you feel threatened or hurt. That doesn't mean stay there and be a punching bag or anything, but just something menial or something like that. Try first working it out, because no matter what relationship you get in, you're gonna have to work with it anyway. So yes. So
I agree with you that divorce should be the last resort.
Yeah.
But the one thing about Glenn and I, we're relationship counseling, and in relationship counseling, we can't really counsel anyone officially if abuse is involved. If somebody's hitting on you and you come to us, we have to refer you to a licensed therapist, because that's how people look at with somebody hitting you. If somebody hit you, they figure that's serious. That's something that's a divorceable offense.
Right.
But some of the other things like infidelity and all those things, they said those are things you got to work through.
Yes.
Because they says that marriage, especially if you got, we got in trouble with that last week. We got to say it again. Unconditional love, and we got trouble last week. Was a bunch of trouble with that. But our study says unconditional love, you should try to work through some of these things. And they gave some examples of how to work through it. And they said transparency, communication, trust, and consistency on the part of the offender has to take place before you can get that trust back. Because they said once that trust has been broken or eroded, it takes a lot to get it back.
Yeah, right.
Especially when the offender never acknowledges that they're wrong.
Exactly.
See, when a person thinks that they ain't wrong, that you can't fix it.
Right.
Correct.
So sometimes, and I consider that then you become toxic, and then that mess with your mental health.
Yes.
So what I say, run like Forrest.
Yes, because you got to realize something.
Toxicity. Life is short, and you don't have time for that.
Correct. And that's why before you get a divorce, you got to realize something. You breaking up a family. You breaking up a family when you get a divorce. So
it's covenant. It's like a death. It's like a death, but the person is not buried.
Correct.
It's just like a death.
And then if kids are involved, this is something you really need to look at a little different, because how it affects you and how it affects your children. So you're breaking up a family. So divorce is something you shouldn't go into lightly. you should, matter of fact, you should almost give that more consideration than you do the marriage. Because divorce, once you go through that, it's kind of hard to go back. It's kind of hard to go back. So I would ask you, if you're looking at a divorce and considering divorce, make sure you've done all you can do on your end first before that happens. Because when you're talking about divorce, you're talking about a healing, self-compassion, rebuilding, and future outlook. You know, when you come out of divorce, you know, you got to heal. You know, you got, and then plus you can't just beat yourself up, because a lot of times people, oh, it was me, it's my fault, what I did wrong, I shouldn't have done it, it's all me. Where really it may not have been. It may not have been. So you got to have self-compassion. And you have to realize, what does it look like to rediscovering yourself after divorce? You know, who are you now? Because a lot of times we are identified by our marriage. We're identified by our spouse.
True.
So when we walk out of divorce, you know, you're so used to the other half, you know, now how do you identify yourself now? How do you rebuild? You know, how do you empower yourself? You know, how do you get it back?
Sometimes you have to start from scratch.
Yeah, you're correct there.
Yes.
You're correct. Yeah, even hobbies and friends. A lot of times hobbies, friends, family, all of that stuff now has changed.
Absolutely. And you have to learn how to adapt to that.
Yes. So these are the things you got to look at. Then what's your future outlook? You know, are you going to stay single? Are you going to go back out in the dating world? And if you've got kids involved, how are you going to co-parent? You know, who has custody of your kids? Their schooling. You know, so when you talk about the night subject, we talk about night subject, we talk about dating on the front end. And we talk about some of the things about your selection process. How do you determine who to date, how long to date? And we didn't talk about what you do when you get a bad match. But sometimes when you get a bad match, how do you come out of that bad match in a date? When somebody you date, you know, this joker, this ain't gonna work. How do you come out of that? You know, friendly, you know, you try to be friendly, you try to do it in a nice way, and you do it, you're open, honest, and you be upfront, you be frank. And that's how you come out of that. Now, then let's say the person you date is a keeper and somebody you want to marry. Then, you know, and the guy proposed and you accept and y'all get married. But before you get married, you need to do some type of counseling. You need to have some type of counseling in place, because you want to make sure that both of you guys are in the right mindset, that your right mindset, that you can live as a team and be a team. You can have that team mentality. It's a two-person sport, that you can do that. And then next, you got to realize something. How do you handle conflicts in your marriage? Get that set up first. Get that set up first. Hey, baby, if we have a problem, we have a financial problem, how are we going to solve that? Am I going to expect to get a better job, a different job? Are we going to work something together? How are you going to do that? Talk about these things before you do that. Okay, then let's say you did it and you realize the statistics says the average time of marriage is 8 years in America. That's what stats say. So let's say you're the unfortunate party and you get to that 7-8 year and you get a divorce. When you get a divorce, you got to realize something. How is that going to affect your family? How is that going to affect you? You know, divorce sometimes destroy everybody and everything it touches.
Oh, it will. Definitely
Yes.
will. And if you wasn't communicating before, you definitely will start communicating during a divorce. The other party has no other choice but to talk, because like you said, you have to deal with, you know, the custody with the children, and then, you know, like with the being able to adapt with your new life, not being married, new friends, and, you know, being in two separate households. Oh, you're going to start talking, because my ex-husband started talking like a parakeet after we were divorced.
Mm-hmm. I understand. All right,
It
we
was too
got 2
late.
minutes before we end. Anybody in our audience want any comments out before we close out tonight? Anybody that hadn't said anything tonight want to say a comment, want to close us out tonight? All right, Glenn, do you want to close us out, or you may close us out?
You're on a roll, sir.
Okay, everybody, this has been Sunday night at 9. We're happy to have you here. Once again, our format is 20 women sitting in the living room. We're having a great conversation and talking. We're sharing our truths on different relationship topics. We ask that you continue to do that. We ask that you be part of the audience and engage with some of the questions and content. We're more than happy to have your feedback. Now, what we do is we record on Sunday night and we put it on YouTube on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, you can see this episode on YouTube. And all you go to YouTube and put in Reset Healthier Relationships, and all our videos will pop up. Now, I think we have about 12 episodes already on YouTube. So feel free to look at them. Have any questions, you can get in touch with me or Glenda. Glenda, you put our email in the chat? Did you put it in the chat?
No, I did not.
You can put our email in the chat right quick. So if you have any questions or any concerns, please email us. If all mind and hearts are clear, we'll see you here next Sunday. And this again, happy Pentecost Sunday to everybody. All right, you got it, Glenda?
Yes, I do. Can
Okay,
you see
everybody.
it?
Any questions before we sign off?
Great topic, and same to you. Have a great week.
All right, goodbye, everybody. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. See y'all next
Good night.
Sunday.
Yes.
All right.